Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The spiritual effort is put in by your mind and intellect. It is not the body that is working for spiritual evolution. The equipment used for spiritual growth is your mind and intellect. Manas and Buddhi. There are 3 or 4 possibilities are there. These 2 equipments creates 4 possibilities. Number 1, mind is more developed in an individual than the intellect. They are called emotional people. Then you have another possibility is intellect more developed than mind. They are called intellectual people. Then both are more or less equal. They are called active. Both the equipments not developed, underdeveloped. They are called indolent. Now the indolent category is so minuscule. For all purpose, we don't discuss about them. So we keep them aside. Because we started by saying spiritual effort, you need mind and intellect. In this group, mind and intellect are not developed. So first they have to develop mind and intellect and then start the work. So that category is kept aside. Which means spiritual effort categories were only 3. Emotional, intellectual, active. The emotional people take to the path of bhakti. Intellectual group take to the path of Gnana, knowledge. Active take to the path of karma, action. We have seen bhakti. We just started Gnana. Now, the path of knowledge means the path of inquiry, vichara, investigation. That's what he gives. Shankara defines that path of jnanam, nitya, anitya, viveka, vichara. Discriminating between the real and the unreal, the eternal and the ephemeral. So inquiry into that is not acquiring knowledge. We take the path of knowledge means you have to acquire knowledge. Acquiring knowledge is not. That's called intelligence. See, we are not discussing about the path. People who take to this path means people who gain this knowledge. So you study, you gain the knowledge. That is not what is referred here. Here, people investigate. They inquire into it. Maybe they can take an assistance. They can take help. See, the basic assistance that is required, you can take it. Take the help from the scriptures or from the guru or whatever source to which you can get that assistance. But essentially, that path means where you do that investigation. You do that inquiry. Now, most of us take this to be collecting knowledge. Now, what is interesting is the collection of knowledge with reference to the scripture, Vedantic knowledge, is for all purpose of no use to you. Because if you gain that knowledge of engineering, knowledge of medicine, knowledge of other fields, in all other subjects, you gain that knowledge can be used by you, at least to make a living, right? You can use that knowledge and earn your livelihood. With this knowledge, you can't be earning a livelihood with this knowledge, because this knowledge has no market value. You see, all other subjects has got a market value. It has a shelf life, correct? It will go away. After a period of time, it will go away. That is there. But when you gain that knowledge, there is a use for that knowledge. Now here, to gain that knowledge of who am I, what is God? Imagine you gain the knowledge of what is God. Imagine you have got the knowledge of who am I. Right. Now, with the knowledge of who am I, what you can do? You can't go out and tell everyone, I know who I am. They'll say, so what? I'm going to teach you who I am. I say, hey, who needs to know who you are, man? You know who I am, is what everyone will say. So there's no value for this knowledge, actually speaking. So we ask the question, then why should you gain this knowledge? You gain this knowledge without that inquiry spirit. Like other subjects, if you were to be gaining this knowledge, you will be gaining this knowledge only to educate others, in which nobody is interested. People around you, you can try. In your house after the class, catch hold of a person in your house, make them sit and say, I'm going to tell you what I have gained. They'll say, this 1 hour I'm allowing you to attend the class. Why? Because at least this 1 hour I will get freedom from you. Otherwise, you are such a, because you start burdening others with this knowledge. If you have a knowledge of medicine, no one will consider in your house as a burden. Have you ever seen? Oh, in my family, there is a doctor. You say that with pride, actually, isn't it? Oh, he's an excellent, stock market expertise. He's a chartered accountant. About cars, you want to know something, sir. This guy, he will tell in and out of all the cars in the world. Such expertise he has. It's a pride that will never be felt by anyone in the family as a burden. But the moment you gain little knowledge of the scripture, little Bhagavad Gita you start studying, little Vedanta you start studying, everyone around you will start feeling the burden. Why? Right. Why is it, sir? It starts becoming heavy for them. Actually, why? That is not knowledge, please. That is scholarship. If you want to become a scholar, you better be a scholar in the worldly subjects. At least it will be of a use to you, and it will not become a problem for others. You have to gain knowledge of some subject. I'm very much inquisitive, sir. I want to learn things. Then study history. Study other things. Any subject you study in the world, apart from Vedanta, there is a value for it. Number one. Number two, it will never not be felt by people around you as a burden. only entertainment you can have with this knowledge is sharing with others. The problem is, because only with this knowledge you will get that urge to share. In other subjects, you will never get that urge to share. You know that? You study any other subject. You are all going to school, no? Well, you are all going to college, right? You learn things, no? In college. Even if people were to ask in your house, what did you study? What did you learn today? They'll say, hey, shut up. What is your problem? Why do you want to know all that? Whereas, when it comes to this subject, little bit you learn. First thing you will have that temptation is to share it with people, to tell everyone. And unless you tell people, you will not feel comfortable here. No. Therefore, what happens is this knowledge becomes a burden for others. Also, you start feeling the burden of it. That's what Ramtirtha says. It's like mule carrying gold, he says. The scholars, all the scholars who mug up the textbooks and this, all that, they become a burden, and it becomes a burden for them also over a period of time. That's why they want to unload it. Offloading, they wanted to offload that knowledge, but they will term it as, I want to share with everyone. I want everyone to get the benefit, or to do all. It's nothing to do with benefit and all that. It is to do with what? You can't hold it. Why? It's a hot potato. You can't hold a hot potato. So what do you do? Pass it. And nobody is interested to take it from you. Nobody will want it. If at all they take immediately, pass it on to somebody else. Pass it on. That's not the path of knowledge, he says. You don't gain knowledge like how you gain knowledge in other subjects. This is a path of investigation, inquiry. You inquire to know certain facts of life. When that inquiry begins inside you, you have started following that path of Gnana. Who can do that? Only the person who has the domination of intellect. Predominantly intellectual, of course. That doesn't mean he is not having any emotions, please. It's not that he is not active. The portion, or if you take a period, 24 hours if you take, in that 24 hours, imagine that he is waking hours is 14 hours of waking. In that 14 hours, predominantly he will be intellectual, then little emotional, little active. That's called intellectual personality. Emotional personality means predominantly emotional. That doesn't mean he has no buddhi. When you say he's a very emotional person, doesn't mean he has zero, intellect. No, he also has intellect, but the period or the proportion of intellectual positioning, intellect dominating the mind, that period is very less in his life. Same way, active. It's not that he is not active, he is also active. But when you say he's an active personality, it means he is predominantly active. So here we are, whenever we say intellectual person, we refer to predominantly intellectual. So to the extent you are predominantly intellectual nature, then you take to this path of Gnanam. Path of Gnanam means the path of knowledge. In that path of knowledge, you inquire into what? Investigate, not knowledge. You investigate ignorance here. That is the difference. The scholarship goes and seeks knowledge. Right? The Gnana Yogi, he doesn't go and seek knowledge. He probes into ignorance. That's why he defines a beautiful definition. Nitya, Anitya, Viveka, Vichara. Nitya, Anitya, distinction between real and unreal means he goes on investigating, inquiring into, is this real or is it unreal? What is real and what is unreal? Anything connected to me, real. Anything not connected to me, unreal. That's all. So long as I don't get corona, it is unreal. The moment I get corona, then what is it? After that fellow will never say, it is unreal. So what is this? Inquiry into real and unreal. Which aspect of life appears to me real? What aspect of world looks real to me? What is real to me actually? When my child fails the exam, vis-a-vis my neighbor's child failed exam, which is real, which is unreal? A neighbor's child fails the exam, what is advice you give to your neighbor, friend, father? You are friendly with the father and mother. What is advice you give? Whack that fellow. What he was doing for, like she was telling me, do you realize that I am in 12th standard for the last 15 months? Yeah. For the 15 months, I have been 12th standard. About 10 days back, she was telling me. Do you realize it is 15 months over for us that we have started 12th standard? I'm still in 12th standard. Those who are doing 10th, when they are doing, they have come to 12th now. They are saying we are buddies now. It's really bad. So you failed exam. 15 months, you got only 35 marks. Whack that fellow. You never say that. See, life is not all that. As you are saying, your child comes and says, sorry, I also failed. Then what happens? Huh? So which looks real to you? Remember, world is not real or unreal by itself. Something in that world looks real to you. Something in the world looks not so real to you. Not so real. Then what defines the whole thing, sir? How close it is to me. Anything that comes closer to me will start appearing more and more real. Now, the reality that I am attributing to that, is that real? This is called Gnana Yoga. Yoga means what? Yuj, to join. I think all of you would have heard. I don't know how many times you would have heard this. Right? Derived from the root called yuj, means to join. So any effort that you put into unite back is called this. So yoga means what? Joining. Viveka Vichara means what? Discriminating. Splitting that into two. Right? Straight away contradiction. You see? To join, what you do? Will you split or you synthesize? That's why today, 90% of people who come anywhere near Vedanta, philosophy and all that, they say it's rejected. They just reject it as just intelligence, that's all. Gnana Yoga and all is meant only for, people who have no other job. A few fellows who have no other work to do. Why? Because they go on cutting things. Cutting. We want to get united. And these fellows go on cutting, splitting things. How can this splitting? Yoga becomes yoga. How can division becomes discrimination and distinctions? Constantly I'm going to be distinguishing between this is different, 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 different. I'm constantly talking about distinctions and differences, but outcome of that is what's that? Union. You can't even understand. You find it almost impossible. That's why when Westerners came to India, they could never consider India as a country. Because something should be same, no? At least you all should eat same food. Do we? Inside Karnataka itself, there are variety. South Karnataka totally different, North Karnataka totally different. Tamil Nadu you go different. There you go different. Here you go different. Every part you go, food is different, dressing is different. Your language is different. Gods are different. Then how can you call this as one country? That's why they say maximum, 3 years. Churchill said, no, maximum 3 years. This country will be, go into 20 pieces. You cannot have. And there is a lot of us believe that, we got India came in because of British. Before that, there is no such thing called India. We can't understand why. Because for us to gain that dimension, we wanted something to be same. If it is same, only then union is possible. If it is not same, union is impossible. Somewhere down the line, we have to say something is same. Same, same, same. Here, this goes on dividing things. Distinction between real and unreal. That is called path of Gnana. What is it, sir? With that, what you do? Yoga you attain. Union is achieved through this. How? That's why you people should get acquainted with these things. Otherwise, and somewhere, somebody you go, you can't keep quiet. You will get into discussion with others. They will start. See, intellect is wrong. Why? Because intellect goes on dividing things. And you will not know what to do with those guys. You will be looking at, you will say correct, you will say not out. And then you get confused. They will not get confused. Only you will get lost. Here, distinction, inquiry, investigation into on what basis I am going to be attributing reality to what I experience as real. I experience something as real more, other things are experienced less reality. What defines the whole thing? That investigation, that thing is what he is saying as Gnana Yoga. It's a discipline where you question, you reflect, you inquire and identify what is real and what is unreal. Right. This is what we have seen. I'm only recapping so far what we have seen. Then he moves on to the inquiry. So first thing he says, what is not Gnana Yoga? What is not Gnana Yoga is scholarship, gaining knowledge. Then what is Gnana Yoga? Investigation. Investigation into what? Investigation into what is real, what is unreal. What is knowledge, what is ignorance. What is it that I'm calling as knowledge? What is it that I'm calling as ignorance? What is the foundation? On what basis I call something? Because why is it that I hold on to one aspect and reject the other aspect? I hold on to something. Even about personalities also, even in relationships also, you hold on to one aspect of that person and reject all other aspects. You never see a person in total. You never relate to anyone in total. You relate to people always in pieces. Why did you do that, sir? You just, take one thing. One aspect is taken, correct. Another aspect is taken as, no. See, that point what he said is correct, but this, what he says is wrong. In this I agree, in that I don't agree. Who cares about you agree or you don't agree? A lot of people ask me this question. So what's your opinion on this? I say, I don't have any opinion. What is your opinion on, demonetization? I say, my opinion is you go and deposit all the money that you have in the bank. That's all. Now, if you are not having, well and good. If you are having, then go and deposit. Problem solved. People ask, what is that? Weird, Now you can say, okay, sir, what is your opinion about what should I do? Who cares? Are you going to be living your life based on my opinions? Because today, if I say, if you were to start living your life on my opinion, tomorrow you will start bargaining with me. What? I followed you, no. Now it is your turn. You follow me. Right? That's what all of you have enjoyed, no, last 2 weeks. All these days, whatever you talk, we listen. No. Whatever we said, you eat. Correct? We all think, we were so grateful that we are sending food for you. Nothing of that sort. It's a tit for tat. We suffered your lecture, you suffer our food. That's all it is. In whatever way you can. It's a bargain, That's why these spiritual masters, beyond a point, they become a slave of their own disciples, their own students. The teacher become a slave of their own student over a period of time. As they start. And when that man is refusing, that's where we see people taking off. They say, how dare? Why? How is it that always only we have to listen to him? Something you have to listen to us also, no? Somewhere down the line, we will start dictating terms. In every dimension you see, where you say, I'm going to investigation. You have to investigate. Investigate on what? These are few things, you investigate on, for which he gives a lead. Now, like this, he is going to give a lead in terms of on what you have to start your investigation. In a very simple language he gave initially. He said, because he is wondering, what is my real nature? What is this? What am I? The best example is, of course, we can't be taking it. We don't have to read all that. But in that text, Yoga Vasishta, you'll find there is a Vairagya Prakriti. There's a first chapter where Rama describes samsara, what is life. And every dimension of life he investigates. Because Yoga Vasishta is a separate text by Valmiki. It's not part of Ramayana. When Vishwamitra comes to that Dasharatha's court, Rama has completed his schooling. Formal, all that education is over. And that's a time, Vishwamitra comes to the Dasharatha's palace to request Rama to be sent along with him to, protect his yajna. When he comes, Dasharatha sends word through the attendants to bring Rama to the court. And Rama comes. Of course, he comes. He comes very late. And he is not coming immediately. He comes very late. And the way he walks, the way he functions, Vishwamitra straight away identifies he is in depression. Depression was there for Rama. Right? He identified. It's very important to identify people around you, whether they are depressed or not. Right? He identifies. And then he asks, what happened to you? Why are you like this? Why are you behaving like this? Because there's a way they're supposed to be dressing themselves as, prince. Is to be crowned as king. Prince means he is supposed to live in a particular style. His dressing sense is not there. He has not combed his head properly. He is not, walking. He is not eating proper. All that. So they check and find out what is wrong with him. And the best part, what? The attendants tell Dasharatha, this is how Rama lived is for the last 1 year. And we say, Dasharatha is tremendous love he has for Rama. But he couldn't see the condition of Rama. Vishwamitra just walks in. He just enters the assembly. Vishwamitra identified the problem of Rama straight away. It's called perception. The ability to see. These people have that. Dasharatha blinded. His attachment is blinded him. He couldn't see. What's happening to Rama. There, Vishwamitra asks, what happened to you? Tell me, tell us, what's going on? This is not the way you are supposed to be. And then Rama starts giving his observations. And he explains how much our life is madness. How mad we are all, including his father, including Dasharatha also, he says. Nothing. And every facet of life, one by one, he analyzes, expounds, says meaningless, 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 meaningless. In such a meaningless life, the final asks only this question. And the reply is the best. Reply is a classic beginning of Vishwamitra. Yes, what is life? There's no meaning to our life. That is called Gnana Yoga. Don't say immediately, sir, can we take Yoga Vasishta class? We can close Vedanta Treatise and start Yoga Vasishta. Does it make any difference? Okay. That will not help in any way. It's not a textbook. It's all there. It's all here actually. But that's what he is investigating. Investigating to understand the essence. And he finds life has no meaning. And no one seems to be sane. He says, everybody is insane. There is no one, is there anyone who is sane? That's all. He asks the question and stops. And Vishwamitra gives a reply. Rama, in this congregation, there are two people sane. One is me. Understood. One is Vishwamitra. The second one is Vasishta, he says. Except this Vasishta and me, including your father, you are correct. Your father is also insane. In such insanity, is there a possibility to live life with sanity? And the answer is something unbelievable. It's like Bhagavad Gita only. Arjuna asks one question, Krishna gives totally off tangent answer. No connection. He says, my knees are knocking, my head is spinning, mouth is parched, I don't know, should I fight or not? Immediately starts up. Asochanan, asochastam, prajnavadam, samash. Tasuna gatasunsa, yanusochanti pandita. No connection to what he is asking. Totally unconnected. Same way, yoga also starts. He says, Vasishta, you have to learn from whom? Learn from your Kulaguru. He's the best teacher you have. Learn from him, he says. And he goes and asks, what is there? And his teaching is only this. He says, first thing he teaches him is, Rama, there is no such thing called fate, destiny. He is asking a question, is there any sane? Is there a way to live life with sanity? Right? He's asking. Totally unconnected answer he gives. Starts with that, typical style of scripture. Typical scriptural style of teaching. Yoga system. Unconnected he gives. Wow, what is this? Right? What is this insanity? And then he goes into the investigation of insanity, which Rama has already investigated. And how Vasishta analyzes that insanity. And Rama is the outstanding study. That investigation is what is known as Gnana Yoga. That inquiry into the substance of our life, the substance of things that we are. How to start, sir? Where to begin? And he gives the easiest way to start with. I just gives an indication. Don't take it as only this one, please. You can start from any aspect of it. This is only one dimension of a process through which you start your thinking. So it starts by saying, page number 218 in my book, in the topic Gnana Yoga, Path of Knowledge, second paragraph. You must therefore examine what is unchanging in the changing phenomena of the world. What remains constant in the inconsistent factors of life. Observe your own life's journey, how it passes through various facets from childhood to old age. Your personality is in a constant flux of change, never static. Yet, you point to yourself and say, this is me. This height, weight, this name, fame is me. Little realizing that the moment you point your finger at yourself, you have already changed. There can be no fixation of your personality. Nevertheless, you go on declaring, I am a child, I am a boy, I am a man, I am an old man. The personality moves on, but the I remains constant. The same I assumes three distinct states of consciousness as a waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper. These are three different personalities. But you declare, I am the person in the waking state. I am the person in the dream. I am the person in sleep. That I, the constant factor, which runs through the three states, is the Supreme Self. See, all that he is saying is, in a simpler way, what he means is, when we use a word, that word should have a meaning. Like, you cannot be using a word without a meaning. Right? Now, one word all of us use, I. Okay. The word I is used by all of us. Now, what is the meaning of that word I? Right. Suppose if you say, I am a boy. I means boy. Now you are not a boy. And still you use the same word, I. How can you do that? How can you keep using that same word when the boyhood is no longer there? I say boyhood, put a slash and say girlhood also. Okay. Old man, when you say old woman, understood that is. Okay. Now, when we use, you derive the sense of self, I, through what? The sense of I. What is the basis with which you derive the sense of I to yourself? Most of us will be deriving the sense of I from the body. So first thing we believe, I am this body. Right. Now that's where he starts asking you to investigate. Inquire. In that inquiry, what you have to do? How can you be deriving the sense of self from the body? How did you derive? You feel that I am. What is that I who's claiming? Now immediately we will say I is the mind. Right. I is the intellect. And then you have something very, very interesting concept called ego. I, ego. Now the question is, from where did you derive that sense of ego? Question is not solved. You're only replacing another word, another word, another word. And then you get completely lost. A point comes where you can no longer progress further. Because the sense of I, see, Gnana Yoga will be little, tight only. Right? So you can't be having much of entertainment here. In Bhakti, you can have a lot of, masala, or, possibilities are there. In the Gnana Yoga, masalas are very difficult to give. You got to compromise. By compromising only you can give. You keep moving. At one point you claim, I am the waker. Right now, you say, I am this waker. You go to dream. You say, I am the dreamer. You go to deep sleep. You say, I am the sleeper. Sleep, that's it. Nothing. Now, are you waker, are you dreamer, are you nothing? You can't say, I am all that. But the problem is, you never say, I am all that. You never live as a dreamer in the waking, isn't it? Do you? You never live as nothing in the waking, nor you live as nothing in the dream. In the dream, you live as a dreamer. You don't live as a waker there. Now, as a waker, you dismiss dream, you dismiss this. We have seen that earlier in the study of states of consciousness. This inquiring into that, the path of knowledge is just giving one lead. Okay. Like we just saw, a lead. What is the origin? From where the world began? What is this concept of God? Did God create us or we created God? Is God our creation? Possible. Because imagine eliminate humanity from the world. Right? In the animal kingdom, there is no God. Now, God is real or not? Similarly, mathematics also not real. For animals, there is no mathematics. For animals, there is no music. For animals, there is no arts. So you are going to call all that only humans are created. Therefore, it's all fictitious. You can't say that. But at the same time, it is true that if humanity is not there, God also may not be existing. Nor can you keep saying, gods are all like, aliens living in some other planet. They come here, go there. Seeing somewhere, somebody was recommending, speaking like that. They say, maybe they are all aliens. Because in Mahabharata and all we see, in Ramayana, Mahabharata and all you will see, stories. One Gandharva came, he was passing by, he came and he found that there is one king by that name, Chitrangada, same fellow. So that guy got offended. He said, hey, I am having the name Chitrangada, you are also having the same, how dare, change your name. This man said, I'm not going to change my name. Now let's fight. In the fight, he got killed. And then this fellow went away. Where did he go? He went to Gandharva. Then we think what? It's like Mars. Like it's even if it is a story also, it's created by human mind only, no? If there is no human, there is no God. So did God create the world or human created God? The capacity to investigate it and probe into that is called Gnana Yoga. We are not talking about what conclusion you come to. Remember, the path of Jnanam is not what conclusion you arrive at. It's a process, remember. It's a process of gaining knowledge. It is not a particular conclusion you arrive at. We don't care about what conclusion you come to. Conclusions can keep changing. Keep changing, keep changing, keep changing. That will keep varying depending upon your investigation. Like, there was a time once they said molecule is the smallest. And then they say, no, molecule can be broken into atoms. But atom cannot be broken. And then another fellow came and said, no, atom also can be broken. You see, conclusions will keep varying. Now, with a higher conclusion, that doesn't mean the person who discovered molecule and declared that molecule is the smallest one. He is wrong, isn't it? The moment we, identified atoms, then automatically we should have withdrawn the Nobel Prize given to the previous fellow. Why? Because he is wrong. But science doesn't do that. Why? Because this man is able to discover, identify, gain that knowledge of existence of atom sitting on the shoulders of this man only. Without this fellow, he wouldn't have. So you can't pull him out. You pull him out, the whole thing will collapse. It's a foundation. It's a foundation. Every new discoveries, every new inventions, every development in science is always founded on the previous. The new discovery proves the previous wanting, incomplete, wrong. We don't care about it. That's called science is a process. It's not a conclusion. Remember, similarly, this path of knowledge is a process of investigation. What conclusion you come to is not. So in that process, what do? You inquire, investigate, you arrive at a conclusion, And then what you do? You don't stop there. Again inquire into it. Again probe. Again understand. Again probe. Again understand. That's how life grows. That is why they say a man was asked a question. What is the height of the lotus stem? What will be the height of the lotus stem? To which a student gave a reply. Depends on the height of the water. If the water level were to be 14 feet, this will be 14. If the water level drops to 10, this will also drop to 10. Similarly, the sense of knowledge, understanding of higher, right, dharma, all that keeps varying as you evolve, as you grow. As you grow, the things will keep changing. From your perspective, from your level, you can't even understand many times. From the higher, this will look wrong. That's why for most of us today, we cannot even understand Buddha. How can this man, not Buddha, Siddhartha. Siddhartha is a coward. Why? Because he ran away in the night. Now, you can't even understand what is that height. You see, what is the height you can't recognize? From our level, we analyze. Like I've told you this. Few experiences are amazing. One day, a daughter came running ages back. She came and said, running, she came and told me, Akka doesn't know mathematics. No. This girl is staying in my house and studying MSc chemistry. Right. This one is only preparatory. She's going to a preparatory school. They just, after the play school, they go, no, like that. She's going. From there, she says, this Akka doesn't know mathematics. I asked her, what's the logic? What is the reason? Because she is adding alphabets. Only numbers can be added. You can add numbers. How can you be adding alphabets? Therefore, Akka doesn't know mathematics. And she was also there, I was also there. Both of us were looking at each other. And what to do? We said, yeah, correct. Fortunately, she didn't ask the next question. Wait, you're asking me to study. And one day, I will also become like that. If I am also going to become like that, I better not study. That's why I say, human beings came, evolution of monkeys, we became humans. Then why are monkeys still there? Because monkeys, tried. Few evolutes, sample. We just do a trials, first. Trials. They tried and found humans. Miserable condition. They said it's better to be monkeys. It's not worth to become humans. If I also study and go to MSc mathematics, may commit, fundamental mistakes like this. It's not worth the studying. If you come to that conclusion, where you will be, what you will be. It's the same thing here. That's how this philosophy keeps changing at different levels, different depths. It will keep going. At every layer, you don't stop your inquiry. You probe further, you probe further, you probe further. That capacity to continue to probe is called Gnana Yoga. That's what he says. The path of knowledge helps you develop the awareness of one reality in the kaleidoscopic patterns of life. Recognize unity in diversity. The one self pulsating in every facet of life. You must develop an awareness of the divinity that pervades everywhere. Make good use of scriptural study and reflection to probe into the self that you are. Keep your thoughts in your divine center while you function in the world. Never let yourself slip out of yourself. Just as fishes live in the medium of water, birds in the medium of air, so do you live in the medium of the divine consciousness. That consciousness is your real self. Remember, you are the self at all times. Revel in yourself. You will soon rise above your worldly attachment and entanglement and reach the state of self-realization. All that you have to do, you have to do in the sense he is addressing the intellectual group. Remember that, okay? To the extent you are having your intellectual capabilities, to that extent you exercise like this. What you do is develop the capacity to recognize that one reality in the kaleidoscopic patterns of life. I'm sure you're all familiar with the kaleidoscope. Just hold it. A little shake is enough. Even if your hand shaking is sufficient enough, it will change. It will change. It will change. The patterns will keep on changing. A little tap is enough. It will change. And you get involved in the patterns. You forget all the patterns are created by that same few glass pieces inside. Few colored glass pieces. There are only 2-3 glass pieces inside. The 3-4 glass pieces inside creates all the patterns. You get involved in the patterns. You get lost in the pattern, you miss this. See, same way, you are lost in the multiplicity that you experience. You forget to see that unity. You forget to identify, recognize that one homogeneous self pulsating through all these aspects of life, through everything. In and through everything, there is but one reality. Your ability to recognize that and stay with it. It's not that you see it and miss it. You see it and miss it. Seeing and missing is not going to help. Of course, it can be a starting point, right? But how long you are able to hold that thought, that idea, and live in that defines the whole thing, he says. That is called the path of knowledge, for which, from where you are going to gain that knowledge of the self is only through the scriptural study and reflection. Very rare are the ones you will find who can do that investigation on their own. Investigate on their own and come to a conclusion. Very rare. Very, very difficult to find such personalities. I'm not saying they are great or anything. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as great. It is the same thing only. It's like there is a person who is playing cricket without going to any coach. And another fellow goes to a coach, he learns, he has got a trainer, he has trained himself, and then he is playing. To whom you will pay more? You're not going to be paying to the first person saying, sir, he has not had any training. Therefore, he should be given more money. When the IPL bidding happens. We don't care about that. We bother only what? What is the level of expertise achieved by that person? Whether there is a trainer, with the trainer or without a trainer, with a coach or without a coach. We don't care about it. We are interested only in what, sir? What he has attained. Similarly, what is attained is all the pointers. Don't come to a conclusion immediately. Oh, those who have not had, those who have never studied any scriptural assistance and all those things, they are superior to others. There's no such thing, please. That shows only your ignorance. It doesn't show anything about them. See? So don't fall for all that, please. Take proper assistance. It's a exception. Exceptions are not rule. Remember, we are studying rules. When you're studying rule, don't bring in exceptions. So the rule is what? The path is to take assistance from this. Same way what we did with Bhakti. In Bhakti also what we did, you take assistance of the idol. Whatever the idol is. You take that idol help to pour out your emotions. There you develop Bhakti. Similarly, here you take the scripture. The scriptures can be anything. There is a range of scriptures we have. From the simple to most profound and complex, depending upon your intellectual ability. Exactly, right? How we study mathematics or science in 6th standard, how you study in 12th standard, how you study in MSc. It differs. You see, the way you study, it all differs. Similarly, start with the proper course. Start with the proper study course, material, and take that thing in a systematic manner, not at random. Random things will not help. Right? Random text, random studies will not. In fact, it will confuse you more. Right? So don't go with the random things. To take one proper system and stick to that proper system for a period of time. Now, how you have to study the scriptures, how you have to go about it is what he is giving now. Next. So what sort of a discipline that you have to follow? So Gnana Yoga is also a part of discipline. In this discipline, with discipline, you gain knowledge. You expand your understanding, knowledge, awareness. That awareness gets more and more refined and expands, spreads to your life, for which you have to make certain disciplined effort. What is the effort you have to put in? It says, take the assistance of a scriptural study and reflection. That study and reflection on the truths propounded in the scriptures will enhance your awareness of the truth. Then you can see and live in that consciousness. Thank you. Very well.